Welcome back to the Netrunner World Championship 2023 here in sunny Barcelona. My name is Andre from the Metropole Grid.
I'm Guy from nowhere else.
And thanks so much for joining us. We're about to start the finals. We just saw an immensely intense matchup of cableCarnage just getting through with that outfit deck. And now there's another Wayland opponent. That's Sokka, a Canadian player and the reigning world champion. That's actually the playmat that he won last year in Toronto. Had a lot of folks sign it, and he's repping it, understanding that, hey, I've been here before. I know I have what it takes to close this, to get that title, and that he could potentially be the second person to win not only the World Championship twice, but twice in a row. That's a dynasty.
Yeah, that would be an incredible achievement. Standing in his way, ironically, I believe is another Dan.
Yeah.
I believe that is the opportunity there. We have seen these two on stream before as well, playing before, and indeed, Sokka did eke out a victory in a very close fought match with actually the other matchup. Which we may well see if cableCarnage is able to win here and force the second game. Of course, cableCarnage has to win twice, climbing out of the loser's bracket, taking the hard road to the grand final. Not that the winner's bracket, I assume, is the easy mode, but you know, like you're in a more comfortable position possibly here with this build to last. It only has to win one of these games.
So we have to talk about Sokka's list here because there's an identity there built to last, the Wayland Consortium from System Gateway. While you can play a 40 card minimum, generally 44, Sokka's on the full 49, playing 20 points of agendas, and this is such a strange deck. It's a mixture of a full true Glacier deck and a mixture of a program destruction or rig shooting deck. We have some strong agendas. We're on 5-3 suites here, so we're on SDS drone deployment and send a message. SDS drone deployment is inherently a very difficult agenda to steal as the runner. A lot of times criminals are kind of categorized by the fact they generally play one of their breakers because they have ways in their deck to find them, things like mutual favor. So if you lose a Kurapira, the only other ways that you have to break barriers in your deck are things like the Amakua and things like I guess a boomerang.
Yeah, indeed. Worth noting as well that Sokka has played this build to last on stream earlier on today, and that SDS was key. It was a huge swing moment.
We had a player concession, losing two cleavers. It can't run anymore. We have big ice on all servers, tree lines being advanced. There's Pharaohs in here, if I'm not mistaken. Some Winchesters, so there's some really scary ice to run into. Now, advanceable ice too, the value you get off build to last, we are going to be advancing cards, and the cards in the remote server that are going to be advanced, we have Biovaults, one of the strongest Glacier upgrades you can imagine. It is slow and it's expensive, and built to last at least helps one of those traits. And it's also a very powerful card. The way that it interacts with inherently things like diversion of funds and other run-based abilities, you can stop them in their tracks if you think they are valuable enough.
Yeah, there are some extra surprises in Sokka's list as well. Like I've had this list in front of me before. I've had it, for about 5 minutes here, and I'm still occasionally doing double takes. That is clearinghouse on the asset list.
Yes.
2 clearinghouse there, which don't they don't program trash officially. They're not Glacier cards. There it is. But doing that little bit, just that little bit of meat damage, if you're holding your cards back, there they go. And it's something else to put in that remote to run into, and it's unpredictable. It is an incredible list to see.
It is the closest we have to Vientian Keeling. She was just recently banned out, the one academic. You can build your own. It takes you a while, but if the runner can't run, that is a way to close the game without having to actually score out agendas. Yeah. And mind you, this final is timed. So that I don't think inherently favors Sokka. This deck can go long. It wants to set up. It wants to kind of crush you out, kind of like those Acme Biovault lists, which Sokka has been playing classically. So we'll see here how much pressure cableCarnage can put off.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, Sable classically wants to be able to run on centrals. Glacier stops that criminal plan. It stops that, hey, we're going to make some money on this. We're going to get an info bounty. We're going to come in and with a bravado and, hey, I've still got 4 clicks left. That is far more difficult when you are grinding your way through big, chunky, advanced ice that build to last is going to very easily be able to put down there with Sokka's list.
Now, we do have deck lists are available, so both players know what the advanceable ice can be. As soon as you advance an ice, that's kind of, the possibility space of what the ice can be shrinks considerably. Now, most of the ice in the deck is advanceable. We have some interesting inclusions like Rhyme and Sadaka, but we're going to bravado in. Understanding at worst, it's a tree line, it's a Hordem, it's a Pharaohs, all that sort of stuff. You can face tank actually relatively safely.
Yeah, feel free to end the run if you so wish, but we there is a choice from cableCarnage here. We don't want to allow that economy to build up. There are government subsidies. There are 3 government subsidies in this list. So getting up to 10 credits is a big deal because you get up to 15, and that is a big part of the economy. So if the economy stays low with this early pressure, forcing ice reses, which, Sokka is saying, nope, that's fine. I'm going to work my way up there. I've got 3 SDSs, I've got 3 send the message, I've got 1 above the law. Your odds of stealing something right now, not that high. Possibly as well trying to, get some knowledge of what's there, because it looks like those are diversion of funds in hand.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to see how cableCarnage is going to manage its programs. If you just install that Kurapira, you just install that Unity on the table, and an SDS does sneak its way through, that's going to be an issue. Yeah. So sometimes you want to keep your cards in your hand until the SDS goes out, but equally, to steal one of those, you need to trash a program. In terms of sacrificial programs, maybe you can get away with forfeiting an Amakua, or I guess the best case is a Chesva, as that sort of like extra, we don't need this, but it's nice. Maybe the twinning will say a bit differently, but there's not a lot of wiggle room for the things that the SDS can interact with favorably.
Yeah, absolutely. At some point you have to say, well, what was the twinning doing for me? It was helping me get multi-access so that I could steal cards. And if you're stealing an SDS, that's most of a lot of the goal there.
Now bravado into R&D. Is that a mess in Chesvo?
That is exactly there. So interesting that we have that res there. We're saying, right, take away 3 credits straight away from the on encounter ability. You're not getting through. Clearly, there's an understanding here that R&D. I do want to res. I do want to tax you there, and I don't want you getting those easy accesses. Possibly because we don't know actually what's on the top there. That could swing the game one way or another. If you steal a send a message there, that is still 3 points. It is gone now, and makes cableCarnage's job a lot easier.
Yeah, I missed those message chests were in the list. That actually is like probably one of the worst face checks. That's a 6 credit swing. You bravadoed. You did not exactly bravado. In fact, the corporation sort of did.
Bravadoed.
Of course, advancing that is actually a pretty expensive act unless you're playing Prov de Boast, but Built to Last, maybe even better in some ways. That is a click for a credit, let alone you do get that ongoing value.
Yeah, how many times are you going to want to click for a credit during a game? Sokka can just go, I'll just put another one on here. That's fine. I can put that one back. So we're going to probably see that power counter, or that advancement counter just getting used all the time, I think.
Yeah, especially for this deck. Again, the timing is going to matter here, but you're pretty comfortable just putting ice up everywhere and just clicking for credits until you're not worried about that HQ pressure, about the diversion of funds, about that economic denial. We're running HQ, no res here, seeing a Trojan horse. This card is, again, another terrifying card into criminals. It launches a trace. If the runner, I believe, has access to card on the last turn, and whatever you beat the trace by, you can trash a program or hardware, I think, of that type. That says, sorry, I have more money than you. Your Kurapira is going to introduce itself to archives.
Yeah, so I think part of that potential defense is to go, right, let's be rich. We're probably not going to see that many more R&D runs just for single accesses. We do now have the border control, I believe, to probably stop that dirty laundry, because there is
I love that.
there.
Sokka let that in. As soon as you get the border control, you're 2 credits down here. But I do think we're going to see an immense amount of early aggression, because cableCarnage knows the longer the game goes, the criminal win rate is not increasing.
Yeah, absolutely. But ultimately there can be a certain amount of, you do still need to build your remote. So you still, victory has to be earned on that side of the board. We're not going to build some big combo that, it's not like a Red Planet Couriers combo or anything like that. Is like, we're going to need another server. Yes, we're icing archives. Yes, we've got 2 ice on on HQ. We've got a big ice on R&D, but there is going to need to be somewhere else that needs protecting. It's slow. It'll get there, but you still need to do it while stopping these threats coming in.
Now, Will, advancing the outermost ice here. The diversion of funds threat, while you can sacrifice the border control to it, you're not exactly too happy to do that. Trading an entire ice for a diversion is generally not that great for a corporation. So here we're going to have that boomerang. Respect. I think here we might have missed the mark. Not sure. I think we might have drawn already. So I don't know if that's an optional trigger, but there's a chance that the judging is going to rule that that's just not going to happen this turn.
Yeah. I think that's what's been happening. Interesting that you can see an inside job there, I believe. That is going to help with that remote threat. And I think Sokka is going to be aware that it needs to be done in a manner of we're going to have 2 or 3 ice, I think, before we start seeing this isn't going to be one of those Wayland decks that's like 1 ice go. It is going to be right. I have got 3 ice. I have got probably my Biovolt. Now I'm going to try and score.
It generally plays slow. Yeah, we're definitely not rushing out here. We're not seeing Oak Towns. We're going to discard that diversion of funds, understanding that's really far out of reach. Now, there's still some cards you have to respect here. There's 2 boomerangs, 1 inside job, Spin Doctor, mind you, Circuit Breaker, Invitational, Reaper Functions, Foil, Special in the remote server. So we'll see here again, Sokka. Not moving too quickly. I'm wondering how concerning that time is, how long it's going to take to get that lock. And I don't know if cableCarnage is seeing the Trojan horse, whether he's going to very quickly put a breaker on the table. That's a very hard thing to do. At least the credits are going his way.
Yeah, and I mean, part of the pressure of the time is you can go, all right, I know I've got half an hour to score, but I can make sure that I'm scoring closer to that half an hour if I have to. I don't necessarily have to get to that 7 points. I just have to be on more points.
It's like getting a recipe where you have all the timings turned out. You're preheating the oven. You understand 20 minutes in is where you got to move, but.
Yeah, I mean that is a good sum up of what is happening here. I think Sokka is preheating that oven.
Now we're shuffling back. The Spin Doctor was challenged. There are a couple cards going back there.
Yeah, I think worth doing. You don't want to continue. You want to push if there are cards that have been put into archives for later. You want to say no, they're going to be in that uncontrolled drawer now. I want to just give you that little bit of discomfort. Maybe you're not going to get everything you want at the right time. If, one way out is if the hand is not fully controlled, a single piece of, multi-axis on HQ, stealing a bunch all at once, that can be a way out. That can be a way of stealing this game from Corp and Sokka there.
Speaking of multi-axis, Mystic Miami coming down. We have there, of course, also the twinning that will get charges if you can play an event a turn. That is the main multi-axis in this deck. Waking Plan seems kind of out of reach, and Sokka going for install, advance. I think the reasonable play here that you'd expect is an NGO front. Anything else riskier on top tables, I'd be very excited to see. But that card on its own is economy. And with Built to Last, it's even more economy. Mind you, a neutral card. You can crack at instant speed to trash it, gaining value based on how many advancement counters.
That is interesting. That is a buyer ban.
We're going to lose value here if the server gets disappeared. That's an NG from and crack. That buyer ban's just thrown to the void, but it's more so just charging up the twinning. Understanding that buyer ban's going to be very hard to play, so just spending 2 credits off Mystic. It was actually 1 credit off Mystic and trading that into later multi-axis. That's a pretty interesting play. I don't think cableCarnage made a mistake there.
No, I don't think so. I think this is fully cognizant of that NGO was a possibility, but wanted is valuing this multi-access. Knows that central runs are going to be few and far between. You're going to need a breaker in order to do it. You're going to need to therefore have risked your breakers to put it down. So you don't want to be doing it too much. You don't want to start losing that money fight if you can really avoid it.
Now, this is an install of the Echelon, the first breaker we've seen so far, and interestingly, actually, might be one of the least important breakers in this matchup. The only sentry, and while there are 3 of them, is Winchester. And Winchester is a nice you can trace through. Now, Sable does not have Link, but that is something you can actually overcome without requiring a breaker, so it technically is the most expendable out of the lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting, that triple advance on HQ there. I think that's probably telling me that's an Arquette.
I would guess so, but you can risk it if it's a Whoredom. That is an absolute disastrous face check.
Also very true. I think Arquette's a problematic face check as well. Yes, it's a run and an advancement, but that is, too big a credit swing. You can't afford those kind of credit swings in this game right now. You need to be able to be sure that you are dealing with everything that you are dealing with, and your runs need to be perfect. And I think that, even if you had perfect knowledge, like with, like old Criminal List where you could see whether that was, if you saw that was an Arquette, I think you only run it once you can deal with it. Obviously, the border control behind it is the same kind, but the same principle applies, I think.
Now, cableCarnage is working on building up that twinning. We might see as soon as next turn. Even this turn, if you can play the event, you can actually just inside job R&D. If you access 3 cards there, you can seal up to 6 points. I guess technically you could win, but you have that Echelon to forfeit the SDS drone deployment, and at that point, it puts a lot of pressure on Sokka.
Yeah, no,
understanding that you have to score at 6 points, mind you. I'm not sure who's a higher seed here. I think Cable probably is. It's a weird thing to see come into play in the finals.
That's an interesting question. I always assume that if you come through the winner's bracket, you have the advantage, but maybe
that might be true. Yeah, I'm not actually sure how that works.
No. Let's hope it doesn't come to that.
Yes.
We've already had some very interesting games earlier, which involved who was the higher seed being quite key piece of information. In fact, a game between these two was it did come up.
Now daily cast coming down. That's going to be 8 credits slowly. We also have a no free lunch. Tags not relevant in this matchup, but a clickless 3 credits.
No, absolutely.
Easy
you're
mark.
Gonna want that. Yeah, no. If you're playing it as an easy mark, you're playing it as an easy mark. That's fine. Another Spin Doctor going out there. So we're losing some of that ability to control the flow of the game, just that little bit.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think we'll see that inside job played. I think that inside job will hit the remote. I think the decision will be to try and maybe mess with that remote maths a little bit. But I could easily be corrected on that, but you're quite right as well that it may be a requirement to kind of get that Mystic Miami off where it needs to be and get the twinning counter. Now, it's possible that this remote gets challenged at this point, potentially. Looks like...
I think it's a sure gamble.
Okay, yeah, we're sure gambling.
Now, that's going to come off. The Mystic Miami is going to give you a twinning charge. You should be at 2 here.
Yeah.
That means you can just send that inside job once Sokka's done with that thorough shuffle.
We may have missed the extra twinning counter there.
It's optional, whether you want to use it. I imagine we did. Maybe we have another event here. If we play the inside job, it shouldn't matter. It'll come out in the wash.
Yeah, no, indeed. But I think we've used all of those recurring credits now. So I think that's a potential.
Oh, right on. Yeah, you're true. That's so true.
So hopefully they'll be caught in a minute. But obviously there is a lot of things to deal with. And it's been a long day. I think, we were still playing Swiss this morning. There's that. Doesn't that seem a long time ago to you?
Now, never advance in the remote server, not advanced card again. Rashid is what you expect. We've seen Sokka just put out things in the remote server, like I believe there's no virus, but just putting a Biovault before you advance it.
Absolutely.
Retroactively getting the counter there, that's actually quite important here.
I think that is actually a surprisingly important power counter.
Now, mutual favor, we're getting the Unity.
Yeah.
That is a decoder. Again, once that hits the table and you can hit it with a Trojan horse, that will potentially remove the only decoder will be put into the bin. That doesn't come back in most criminal decks.
Yeah, is it one of presumably in this Sable deck? Yeah, that is it's a big decision then. Are you going to try and take that run through the Mesna Cheska? It's a big credit swing. It's a big credit swing against you. If you're not ready to do it.
Unity on the table again. If you want to interact here. If you want to break the Mesna Cheska, but just a wall-to-wall again.
Yeah, wall-to-wall. So that's just going to be some advancements, some draw, some credits. Again...
Everything Sokka needs to build his castle.
Yeah, again, this is, we're slow cooking the oven to build the castle and mixing our metaphors and, but, there's a lot going on in this game, which can't be done in runs. They are waiting for that moment of confrontation. Sokka equally, not pushing the agenda, not going ahead, but being aware, of course, that the inevitable mathematics of Netrunner. If you're not getting rid of agendas, sooner or later your HQ is going to fill up with them.
The density here, mind you, it's 7 agendas and 49 cards, so 1 in 7 is actually pretty reasonable. That's better than you might expect. An install advance, that's how you get the most value off your buck. But for sure, again, there's only a couple advanceable upgrades in the entire format, so that's a Biovault.
That is a Biovault. That's the one in the list.
Cable understands. That's the beauty of the twinning. If you do go run through the Mesna Cheska, you're not committing to use those twinning counters before Sokka commits to use the Biovault. So not sure if we're going to see it exactly there. You're pretty safe in here into diversion of funds, but I think that's the one way that Cable can maybe claw up ahead on time is to steal some points off of R&D, but 25 minutes left. We still have a healthy game to go.
I mean, the problem is as well, you can't even take the risk that, Sokka hasn't drawn the Trojan horse. We saw it.
We saw it.
It's there. We know that is happening. So, I mean, one option is, do you try and challenge this Biovault? You don't want this remote to become, hey, all right, now I'm installed advanced. I'm threatening to score. Can you consider a remote lock here? I mean, it feels like a tall order with the kind of ice that this Builder Last list can throw at you, and the relative, this breaker sweep wasn't necessarily designed to deal with Glacier. We've seen a lot of things in this tournament, not many of them Glacier. I mean, it's a good breaker sweep, but it's not necessarily designed specifically for what we're seeing here. Presumably, no turbine, nothing like that. Nothing to start reducing strength, because that hasn't been necessary in a lot of the games that cableCarnage will have played here.
Yeah, we saw Kurapira look so strong in the last matchup, but this might be the opposite. While border controls are the lower end, maybe an Aket that you can charge off of, once you're starting to deal with things like Pharaoh's, you really need that bypass to be relevant. Otherwise, you're paying, even just to get through a tree line, it's a lot of money very quickly.
Now, the Hermes is potentially quite useful here. You can bounce things to hand that have advancement counters.
You remember playing Leela into advanceable ice? Oh, man, that could be rough.
Yeah, no, indeed. Leela was my nemesis for a long, long time, because I had had a lot of advanced stuff on the board. That was nice usually.
Now, Sokka will probably end up rezzing one of those Biovaults. If we do see a run on Centrals, you can res that. It doesn't really cost you anything, and it's not unique.
Yeah, and it's not subtle either. You know, we know what it is. We know it's there. I think if there's the fear of losing an agenda, I think it just gets rezzed. And then at that point, you're possibly bouncing back one of the ice that has been advanced, and it doesn't feel quite as good. I don't think. Now we do have. Is that a further?
That's another Biovault.
That's another Biovault.
It has to be another Biovault again.
That is incredible.
Getting deeper, the second ice there. Whether it's a barrier, that's the one thing we can't get through. Now, you can inside job, and I think Sokka might feel okay spending their first Biovault. Now, there are a limited supply. There are 3 of in this deck, and we've gone through 2 Spin Doctors so far, but I think Sokka then is going to be working to build that window with double Biovault. The remote server seems really safe.
That is very hard to get through. That is a lot of doors that you have to get yourself through, and you know the money is not limitless here. And of course, you go poor, you deal with that.
Bravado, we're going for a run.
We're going for the run. Where is that Bravado?
Just on Archives, I think?
Archives, wow. You have that thing of, like, are you going to res this piece of ice? This is the one time in the game I'm probably going to run Archives. Might not bother anymore.
It's a good run. I think it's the mark as well, so we're going to get Info Bounty.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to get a lot of credits off the Bravado. Again, some of that was offshored by the Mystic Miami. We're going to get a twinning charge, so yeah, getting your money up is really important. Now, I'm not sure if Trojan Horse has a access not from Archives clause on it, so the money here, though, is definitely favoring cableCarnage.
Yeah. And that's what you need to do. That's probably one of your only defense on traces to say, I will be so rich. Because a lot of this ice isn't rezzed. So, if you can force that res, not break it too many times, you can sometimes work things back to being in your favor. I think, maybe part of the consideration is, if we do manage to get a Hermes bounce on that HQ ice, then we can do... Now, the border control will stop us, but it's gone away then. And maybe HQ is that little bit more accessible now that there's not a whole bunch of things right there, right now. I think what will happen is that this will be a long, long period of waiting to make the attacks, and then the attacks will come all at once.
Class Act coming down. Drawing a fair few cards here. Sokka, I think this is now becoming a timing issue of understanding when you feel safe to res on their remote server. SDS drone deployment, definitely the one you want to score out here, is going to have a huge impact on the game, but with a lot of credits, not showing if there's a breaker. After the Class Act, you might expect it. I think we might have seen... Oh no, there's no Cleaver in the list. It's a Kurapira, so there is just, I think, a Dirty Laundries, a couple in hand. Now, Sokka wants to advance that Biovault, keep pushing, but subliminal messaging, again, it really shows what Sokka expects the board state he's going to generate. Just, you're going to be unable to make valuable runs, let alone sometimes unable to run at all if you lose your programs. R&D is a mark here.
Yeah, I mean that is the classic Glacier thing of like I'll keep gaining that money. This is another. It's a small part of the oven, but it's part of that oven right there. Now the what we'll be waiting for is the wall to wall to go away. Because once that asset gets removed, it's like, right, I'm ready now, I'm going. And you would assume that with 2 Biovaults protecting that remote, now could be the time. But, I'm not a former world champion, so I'm not going to call this. and I'm kind of glad I don't have to.
Yeah, that's the thing on the wall-to-wall, right? So you can get the card draw. So you know that you're kind of flooding up a bit sooner. Now, Sokka, it's kind of hard for, anyone to pull that to hand, assuming you'll get the card first. You can draw first, then return it to hand and push the following turn. But here now, cableCarnage needs to really intelligently figure out when and where to use the twinning. If it's been a couple big draws or many consistent draws with wall-to-wall, you can swing HQ. You can flush it out. And Kurapira is coming down. We have a full breaker suite. We might see a run here on HQ. A 5-strength Aket is a bit rough, as much as Whoredom doesn't cost more, but we might just flush out HQ here. And if you can, but no, we're just continuing to set up. Earthrise Hotel.
I think we will wait for the moment where Sokka tries to push, and I think that is when we will see a big, we'll suddenly see a lot of action.
Yeah.
I think we have a lot of circling going on, a lot of oi,
a lot of posturing. And then the power of things, right? If something goes install advance in the remote server, there's 2 options. It's another Biovault. But more importantly now, if you run central servers and you cash in that twinning multi-axis and you find an agenda, Hermes undoes that whole corporation turn.
Absolutely. But it's a threatening remote. Definitely. There are. You think of the remotes that people have been scoring out today. We've seen score behind a single border control on occasions, and, like a single ping. This is very different to that.
Sokka pulled back the wall to wall We might have some forward momentum here. Again, one of the good tricks of wall-to-wall is you can pull it back and install just about anything, and then, it could be the same wall-to-wall, but very importantly, Cable, the only threat on advance is potentially an above the law, which could sink the twinning. That's sizable.
Yeah.
Absolutely kneecapping the potential of the multi-axis.
And that'll be a threat that it's got to be aware of. And indeed, we do have an install. No advancement on it. So and defending the ice. This... And a further advancement now, is that just a wall-to-wall?
This could be huge if this is an above the law. Yeah. Even though, potentially, if it's a 5-3 and might be safer than there in HQ, Sokka could figure that out and say, I'm going to put this here and score it out in 2 turns, or have one of those kind of unorthodox scoring patterns that doesn't open you up terribly to Hermes, where you don't score it on the last possible click. But I'm very interested to hear what cableCarnage is thinking about that above the law. If you lose that twinning, we're in... I wouldn't say exactly single axis territory. We have a second twinning somewhere. Not sure if it's hit the heap so far.
Right. Well, that does make a difference. So, you don't know if the point is that you go, all right, I think probably what there'll be an attempt to do is to try and make some accesses without necessarily tipping that balance of economy. That is very difficult to do. But that flip switch is going to make some difference. You can decide if there's something is economically not in your favor at all, then you can just say, nope, I'm out.
Yeah.
And obviously running here just for the info bounty, for the extra click. Are you going to res this? Are you going to make this difficult for me? Taking away the subliminal, I guess, it's small. It
does help. It's good value.
It's technically there. That is a rhyme. Love a rhyme.
Seeing on archives, I think it just takes a credit away. The text on this does scale up based on the size or the length of the server, but here it's just the littlest piece of ice.
Indeed. Wow.
Also, very notable in this list, there is one copy of Sadaka. That is another big concern potentially if you want to keep that twinning safe. An inside job is your one way around it, but that thing does bring down resources. I don't know. I think it might have a non-virtual clause.
I think perhaps leave that as what the flip switch is for.
Yeah.
If you see a Sadaki, you can go like, oh,
run away.
I'm keeping my. But this is a huge
10 strength Pharaohs. Crew appearing through that is what is it? 12 credits.
That's so many credits. Is that a break or is that a bounce?
I think maybe you can take the tag off that flip switch again. You can clear the tag. It makes no big difference, but that's a mighty res for 7. And having this res right now means that Sokka is not worried if he scores out. He's going to lose one of his triple advanced ice in front of HQ, one of the weaker servers with only 1 border control on it after the return to hand.
That is a very interesting, choice to be able to say that is now resed. Looks like that's getting rid of the diversion of funds. Like, oh no, thank you.
Yeah, all 3 went straight to the bin very quickly out of hand.
No, this is not my day. That is advanced now. So
first
we
advance
know
with 2
it's
credits.
not the wall to wall.
Love that Sokka is not cutting corners there sometimes, but triple advance now means we're pushing. If it's an SDS deployment, that was not very importantly and above the law. So here we have a huge turn for cableCarnage. We know he's been sitting on an inside job for a while. We have a twinning loaded. If we can just send it in. The other option, mind you, we didn't talk about this early in the deck, but Clearinghouse. It's potentially another thing and go to remote server. I think you might cook it a bit further than this.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. Again, you need to get it to big hand size.
We saw that earlier, and maybe that's a genuine problem.
Now we have Pinnles in hand, mind you. We've seen very little Pinnle at this tournament, but if you Pinnle through the rhyme, you can firstly deal with the Biovaults. That does ease the server up, but you can also check what's in the remote server. If it's an SDS, though, and you lose your Kurapira, things are getting ugly.
Yeah, so I think I think this is definitely forcing the issue of it's time. It's you've got to do something now. I'm doing something. We've got 14 minutes left.
Something has to happen.
Something has to happen. We've all got to go home. We lose the building. So.
Sokka, I believe, was playing this deck at Crown of Servers. So he has a lot of experience with this deck. He was playing it. I've been told. People were running into him, and he's saying, yeah, this is pretty good. I might play it tomorrow. And so far, it's been pretty good. And this is a really good answer to that sort of criminal aggression that was designed to deal with assets. It was designed to deal with HB. Again, some of the decks that struggle financially to res ice on central servers. And Sokka's steadfast click for credits has been good here. cableCarnage, though, has been building up a looming threat. And we are one big inside job, one big twinning into making a huge disrupt here. I think we have a judge call regarding potentially, not sure if it's a ripped sleeve, but it looks like it's usually about the class act. That's usually where she shows up to make some ugly board states. But
I guess part of the question is as well, is what is happening here in terms of this push? Is it are they feeling the pressure of cards in hand? Maybe. I suspect not. I suspect this is more calculated than that. We have a former world champion who has taken Built to Last to the final. So, I think, very much acting out of, correct intelligence, but you never know. Sometimes champions get unlucky. This could be pushed because it has to be pushed. And, there is a concern that, the targeting of HQ will eventually come. There is a legwork-ish on the board. It can happen.
It can happen. We're running R&D there. Now, this is a huge run. Assuming the agendas have been kind of measured and metered back, put back into the deck here, Sokka understands that this could be 3 axes, whether you want to put a Bio-Vault into this. Now, on its own, the message chest was going to be 3 credits at the start. You just do it. I don't think you have a big consideration here. And this is going to be our first axis in a while that can threaten. So we're going to see 3 cards here again. For Unity, you have to boost once. Or actually, once, I believe. 1 to 4. And then you have to break 2 subroutines, or you should break 2 subroutines. And then here, the twinning again. Bio-Vault, not res, not used. Even resing the Bio-Vaults here is probably correct, right? They can be bounced back by Hermes. Probably not your release worry. Maybe the runner does that. That's the best case scenario for you. First axis, nothing. Second, that's a send a message.
That is a steal without having to lose a program.
Cable,
and we
the
are
first
moving
points.
back that very last thing to be advanced, which you would assume is the agenda.
Now Hermes returning, send a message. We'll see what we res. That's a nice way to get around Hermes to some extent. The triple advance, we love to see another Pharaohs resed for free, but a Mess and Chester for 5, not too bad at all. We have one more axis here.
Yeah,
looks like ice.
That is a keep. Okay, well that
huge
makes
turn.
a difference. Yeah, how is that money fight looking as well? Who has the more money here? Yeah, I mean cableCarnage is. There's a lot of 5s there, definitely.
Yeah, I think we're about 23, and mind you, we still have. I don't think we've popped the no free lunch. No, it's gone.
It's gone. Yeah, I think it lost the tag on the Pharos.
Oh, right on.
Used to do that.
But now we know that there's an agenda potentially in hand too. I don't know whether we exactly have the money to get through the Pharaohs, but if you want to now put more, and that was the defining play of the last game. cableCarnage just setting up an inside job. This is exactly it. A Bio-Vault might be popped. The border control might be popped here, but you saw sweep R&D, sweep HQ, let Hermes absolutely destroy the remote server.
Yeah, and flying over the the biggest piece of ice there.
Papers, please. End the run.
There is the end the run. As we expected, but there are fewer things down there. So yeah, I mean we thought that there would be no action, and then suddenly a lot of attacks.
lot of action.
And here we are. Now the question is, are you gonna try and break through a Pharos with a?
It's 10 strength. It's big.
Yeah,
Crew Repair, mind you, 12 credits.
It does not
Boomerang. We might float the tag here. Now the tag, I'm not sure if we have the click to remove, but understanding you can get to 6 points here, that might be all you need with 11 minutes left in the round.
Yeah.
The Boomerang, you're going to take the tag here. You have no ability to remove it. Mind you, R&D is a mark. We actually might have another click in the turn to clear it, but Bio-Vault?
You could use the remove the tag on the flip switch.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah.
Bio-Vault, though, was cracked.
Yeah.
That is the first kind of loss of integrity in Sokka's armor.
Yeah. And that, but that is a boomerang gun as well, and with that much high strength stuff going on, you're gonna want those boomerangs.
Sokka's absolute fridge of equipment slowly getting peeled back.
Yeah,
definitely sliding backwards. A card in the remote server, whether it's a wall to wall, the advancements are going to betray that. Actually, just Sokka moving his hand, and this is a really big thing to keep in mind. Sokka is very aware of the sort of signals he puts out. It looks like it was just going for the ice, but you saw him at Worlds last year, feigning tough decisions over simple decisions to kind of misdirect the runner. You have to pay attention to the way he acts.
That is quite some next level play. I was not aware that was something.
It's really good. Yeah, no,
I've probably just been reading this whole wrong. Sokka will watch this back and be like, "You fool, manipulated the commentators even." So, but this is interesting, right? Do you feel that you need to keep pushing as cableCarnage? I suppose we still have that potential risk of, is it above the law? Do you lose the twinning again?
I don't know. Here you think either the agenda is safer there than it is in HQ. I think that's a reasonable line. It could be the wall to wall. I don't know if Sokka needs to slow down and set up, but a pinhole is going to get some immediate answers. Forces out the Bio-Vault here. Cable playing this so well. There's a chance you can charge the remote server. If you expect there's a 5-3 there, being on 6 points might be a really, really big thing with 9:45 left on the round. That's a Bio-Vault you'd rather pay to force the runner to trash that for 2.
Absolutely. That is you're more than happy to trash that there. to and sort of say, right, and quite correctly saying, you're going to have to pay the 2 credits to trash it, rather than waiting to see if information was going to go out. Sokka realized what cableCarnage was going to do and made him pay the 2 credits for it rather than ending the run.
Rezzing the Whoredom. That's up to 2 credits, 3 credits potentially with the, again, if you want to break all the subroutines, the first one is just a credit back to the corporation. Now, it's very important to understand underpinning this entire match is the threat of a Trojan horse.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure you're keeping your credits healthy. Technically, I don't think Sokka's going to bankrupt himself here, but we'll see. Just going to bounce off of that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's quite right. You're sort of making those reses happen. You're choosing where to attack, and you're attacking where you want to at exactly the moment you want to. Not wasting a single one of those attacks because they're so expensive. A little bit of counting going on there. That is an advancement now.
Advance for 2, no shortcutting there.
Yeah.
Again, double advance, triple advance. Looks like the agenda that was returned last turn, actually undeciding what he wants to do there with the last click, saying, yeah, you can Hermes me. It might not be that bad. Just going to take a credit. So now the question is, what's the remote server? Sokka did not snap res a Pharaohs.
Nope.
That's the worst case on a remote server. Mind you, it could be a 7 strength tree line. That potentially is an issue as well.
Yeah. It could be an NGO front in there.
It could be all this for an NGO
just
front.
all of this for an NGO front, because, if cableCarnage overextends...
We see his hand. He has 2 send a message in there and a drone deployment. He's holding 9 points in hand.
That is incredible.
If he can't start jamming, he's flooding. cableCarnage can make 1 run on HQ without the boarding control, without the Biovault. He can sweep and win. And resetting the entire bracket there, just 1 twinning access.
But it
Pinhole.
looks like we're going pinhole.
We're checking.
Yeah. I think
That
that's-
rhyme has been a liability. Again, such a strange card to see in the list. Seeing off the top, it is another SDS.
That is an SDS. So that is... Oh, now you probably have to challenge that, right? Because your risk is you lose a breaker. But do you instead go, right, I'm going to try and Hermes it back?
Yeah.
Because an SDS is devastating.
So either Hermes here, HQ. The rule in this matchup, divide by 7, but it's been a couple turns. We've only seen 1 agenda so far, 2 technically, right?
Yeah, so we're going R&D. Obviously, cableCarnage lacks the knowledge that we have that the HQ is so full.
Mesnacheswell removing 3 here, but we're going to see 3 cards. If he found an agenda, not only are in a game point, Sokka's hand is in a real sorry state.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see an attempt to run on HQ anyway if this...
First card up top, above the law.
Oh, that is above the law.
That is going to get the Hermes bounce returning to
yeah,
hand. We're going to see
definitely.
1 more. We're in game point.
Now, does that encourage a run on HQ? Go
only
all for it.
1 agenda in R&D.
Yeah.
All the agendas are in HQ besides 1 3-pointer.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, there's 12 points in that hand.
Yeah, that is huge. And with 6 minutes remaining, how convincing is it that Sokka's going to be able to get, all the way till those 5 points, even with the best case scenario?
This building got so quiet. I am worried we're going to be too loud and someone's going to hear us.
No, there are 2 doors between.
Good?
It's going to be fine.
Are we good? Okay, we can go. We can go.
Yeah.
5 points to 0, Sokka. 6 minutes left in the round.
that
Cable might be able to just click for credits.
That is a pass back as well. I'm not sure how the money situation looks now, but could it be, can the Trojan end it? No, this is a run. This is a run on HQ.
Now this...
I thought that was a pass the turn.
Pharaohs is only, if I'm not mistaken, 5 strength, so we can do the math on what this costs to run. Now, this seems a bit out of reach potentially. You have to understand, if you get in here, you're going to risk. Now, Sokka's only on 7 credits, or 6 credits, excuse me, so that Trojan Horse seems a bit less likely. I'm not sure if that's hit the heap so far. But if you get through here, and you sink your twinning into this, you're guaranteed to win. We're flip switching away.
Yeah.
Cable, understanding that he doesn't have the economy here, it's only 1 inside job. There's a boomerang stranded. There's a boomerang still somewhere in circulation.
Yeah.
But 1 run on HQ, you dump the twinning, you're guaranteed to win the game.
Yeah. But there is that careful thing of, obviously, cableCarnage can't know that. You've got to take that. So we are install advance.
Sokka, understanding how to play this hand, you just have to keep pushing.
Yeah.
The SDS went back in the hand. Now it's on the remote server. Can you just run the remote server? Here, if you top deck an NGO front, I think we might have known what the top deck is. There's no unknown information really to work with besides what's in HQ. Mark is archives, that rhyme. You can lose 1 to gain an info bounty. It's a clickless credit, let alone you see what's in the bin. We're going to go charge it.
Yeah, I would assume that is going to be
Just ice.
that is going to be an SDS in that room because that is a way out. You know, if you quickly enough score an SDS, kill exactly the right breaker,
Kurapira
and then
needs
just
to come down.
Go.
HQ will still be, or sorry, R&D will be open. We're charging this Mess and Chesto, taking 3 off again to break this. It's 1 boost, 2 breaks. Sokka can res maybe 1 piece of ice. This is a tree line.
Yeah.
7 strength. Kurapira math, 6 + 1 is 7. You can get through here if it's an NGO front. You might have a problem, but that should be, if I'm not mistaken, Cable is in. We're going to access a card. And with that access is going to be a bracket. Oh, Clearinghouse!
Clearinghouse. We keep forgetting that card is there. What?
That's in the game. Cable has now accessed a card. The credits are getting a bit more dicey, and that thing is 3 to trash.
Yeah. I mean, that is... Hook, line,
This
and
game
sinker.
is wild.
Yeah. But, you know, like, how do we win on this kind of time?
Sokka still has a lot of work to do. You keep advancing the Clearinghouse, and you get lethal. You just say, I'm going to hold on. And this thing eventually is going to be lethal.
To trash that?
It is either not enough credits, but if you know you have credits, you get hit by the Trojan horse. It's a hard fork.
Oh, it's the hard fork. Oh, wow.
HQ is the mark here again. 2 Pharaohs is standing so
Is
proud
there gonna
as
be
the
another
monuments
class
they
act?
are.
If there's another class act, you just keep going with make your clearinghouse bigger and bigger and bigger.
This gets really ugly. Timing is definitely going to matter here. Whether Sokka can threaten, and now this thing is res. It's not getting Hermes. Can Cable figure out how to make 1 good access before this thing scales up to 6? And even then, the timed class act does buy you a whole another turn.
Yeah.
We've seen 2 pinholes. That is the maximum amount of pinholes. Now that is behind a pretty hefty remote server. As much as the Mess and Chesto is only going to be 3 credits, not 6.
Yeah. But I think, you know, we're crediting up here. We're saying, okay, it doesn't flatline me right now, so let me see what I can do. Let me get myself more options. You know, no panic there, no going, just like, let's just stay calm. Stay calm, everyone.
Install advance in remote server. Looking at an NGO double advance. That's going to be some credits here. Working on the Clearinghouse. We're actually not going to work this turn. Understanding about 2.5 minutes left. This art gallery has probably only been this quiet when it's closed.
Yeah. No, so tell me.
4 advancements. That has to be an NGO.
Are you sure?
He can't score it next turn if it's not. You have no real incentive to kind of force the run, but you're 1 credit short. But there's a chance it's not. We saw Sokka's hand. It would be such a wild play, but...
I mean...
I know wilder things have happened, let alone at Worlds.
Can you imagine if you won? If you won Worlds by a naked install?
If he scores it, he's still 3 to 5. He has more work to do, but trashing the Kurapira would be very, very good.
Yeah.
Advance. That's a buy a vault. Again, you do that for free.
Some money. Yeah. I mean,
still not working on the NGO front.
Yeah. No, indeed, not taking the money off that NGO front.
There is a couple ways here, but cableCarnage understanding. Can you survive another minute 30 in the cell?
Yeah. Who knows? Like this, that's currently 4 meat damage. The second that gets advanced again, that's got to be challenged.
Cable holding a hand of cards there. None of those look like they're super valuable.
Which weirdly gives a little bit of extra credits. Potentially
it can help for the trash. It definitely can. It's 2 for 10. Mark on HQ. Again, 1 good HQ run that all Cable needs.
That's the thing as
the
well.
credits
like,
here.
If there is a decision made of like, all right, I'll check HQ. That could be enough.
13 credits. Clearinghouse is on 6 tokens.
On now 6 now, so it's got to happen. Whatever you're gonna do, now you got to do it. Unless we go for the class act. The class act play.
We're running R&D. There's 1 agenda in the deck. Yeah. We don't know that. We're going to see how many turning wheels we use here again, breaking through.
Yeah.
I think we committed first. Deciding again, turning wheel, definitely seeing 3. Second,
2, 3.
Nothing.
Yeah. Now we know why, but of course Cable doesn't. Now is it going to be a check on HQ? Is there going to be that, or or is it time?
World's going to be decided by a Clearinghouse. Cable drawing up again. A class act does buy him additional life, but there's not a lot of cards left in the deck.
Looks like a wait is happening. Looks like taking credits there.
Class act hit the table.
Right.
He cycled class act. So he has more than 6 cards in hand. Sokka says, I'll take some money.
And there's time on this round.
What round was time called on?
I don't know.
If it was Sokka's, that's a problem. If it's Cable's, he has to figure out how to win this turn. Either disrupt the clearinghouse, it's on top of a Biovault, find accesses. Mind you, Biovault wasn't popped on R&D, you know the next 2 cards are safe. Sokka's hand is where the game is. Now we're only on 8 credits. We don't have a no free lunch. Running, you can do the math on what it costs to run HQ. You can save a bit of money by floating the tags. It doesn't matter if the game is over. But this is Buckwild, another class act there's nothing to draw.
Yeah.
This
Once
is
again, we have a
your player's
Sokka
game.
cableCarnage
You can't run
game.
HQ with Biovault. You can't. HQ is the mark. You just can't run HQ. Biovault is pop. Can you run the remote server? That might be cheaper, but the Messna Chesvo has been taking 9, 12 credits. I'm not sure how many times that's fired, but
I don't think
cableCarnage.
there's enough money for all of it. I really don't. I think we're going to find that the money is too short. Are we going to ignore that NGO front? Like, could it be that, Sokka kind of like puts this desperation? But I think cableCarnage is going to be, no, that's too much. It probably is an NGO.
If you can't make a run, you check the NGO front. Because how do you make an access here?
So that is a Chesva.
Running archives, the rhyme, losing a credit.
I'm not sure what the goal is here.
Chesva can maybe get a twinning.
Maybe it's just checking what is in the, there's a very small chance of that it's there, but maybe it's there.
We're checking archives rhyme again. It's mostly to get the twinning counter. We can say, and 1 card from R&D here. If we have the money to run R&D again, the top 3 we saw, 1 was drawn, 2 unknown. So now we have the twinning at 3. That's exactly what the coffee came to do.
But we can Biovault this.
We can Biovault this. Now you have to Biovault it after, so you have to make 2 runs here. I don't know if Cable can make a single run here.
I think
you need 3 clicks, or you need at least 2 clicks to threaten, but I don't know what server you can run twice. Run the NGO front. As soon as you only have 1 click left, the NGO front is safe. If again, we still have some weird lines that we're worried that that's not an NGO front, but that's clearly not where the game potentially is here. Sokka, 6 advancement clearinghouse, cableCarnage on the last turn of potentially Worlds, but we have an upset here if you can manage to get purchase. Again, 1 agenda in R&D. HQ is so loaded.
Yeah. I mean, how often do you have to try and break through double Pharos to get your accesses on HQ?
It's hard.
And do it twice.
5 strength, followed by 10 strength. 3 Sabretines a pop, but the tags don't matter.
Yeah, and the Capybara doesn't have power counters on it either.
It has 2.
It has 2.
So you only have to break 1 Pharos. But the problem is the Biovault means you still have to do the whole thing again.
Yeah, absolutely. But does that change the maths on which is the cheaper server to get into?
We're running R&D.
Yeah.
We're seeing 3 here. There's only 1 agenda. Not using the Biovault.
Yeah, 2.
Second card. The third is the unknown, if I'm not mistaken. We can see it on the camera. It's a hedge fund. R&D holds. cableCarnage sitting back.
Yeah.
That's game! Clearinghouse wins it! Sokka, 2-time world champion!
That is done.
Does what's only happened in history once before. Well played to both players. cableCarnage, what a run. This matchup seemed so difficult and still getting to 5 points so close.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, you got to feel that was a rough match in many ways. We talked a lot about how, that you can get closed out. You're not making money from your runs, and yet still, expertly played. You couldn't put a run wrong, and it just didn't quite fall.
How did this game happen as the world's final? This game is absurd. This was such a good game.
Well, I mean,
it was such a swing. How does this happen?
Okay, a part of me does want to know what that remote is.
I don't think it's an NGO front.
Yeah.
Show us what it is. NGO front in hand loaded. What's on the table?
What is on that table? Show us what's on the table.
We have our own narrative that we're really working on here.
True, yeah.
I don't know. I think you would have shown it if it was. I think we'd be pretty happy to show it.
I think that would be it. Oh, we're seeing. Can we just see what was in that remote? We may have to someday.
Good game to both players. I believe we have a bit of time left in the round. Again, this place closes in about 15 minutes. I can't say for sure whether we're going to have an interview quickly with Sokka here. It looks like someone else is cleaning up his cards, so we might be able to have Sokka drop in here to talk about what's going on. But what an absolute game. 2-time world championship. That is Worlds here in Barcelona, the largest NSG Worlds, the second largest Worlds of all time. What a fantastic event. 257 players playing standard, down to only 1. 2-time in a row world champion. That's Sokka. Check him out on YouTube, Sokka234.
Yeah, exactly.
He's been streaming.
Yeah, you learn from the best. But I've been Guy. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to sign off myself, Guy. And if you want to do your final sign off, Andre?
Are we shutting the stream down or we keep going?
Oh, we're going to keep going.
Oh, we'll keep rolling. Yes, we might get an interview. Maybe we'll have someone dropping from NSG. So we're just going to hold here for a bit. Again, thank you so much. It's very much worth noting that this place closes at 10. It is just 10 minutes to that. And I do love the fact that time actually did not matter in that. It was going to be a bit awkward if we got to time there, but we got a real win.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you never know if you have extended time, whether you can sort of like keep playing it differently. You know, the time pressure does like lean on some people, certainly. But you know, it's fascinating to me that, you know, we had 2 games between these 2 players, and, you know, the clock put some pressure on both of them, both times. You know, and they were both very, very, very close. You know,
the cameras are coming down in real time.
We're
in for an adventure. No, we're moving it. Okay, so this happened also in Toronto, but Sokka did put on. Excuse me.
Yeah, so we can now just see the stage there on the right of your screen. There.
Yeah, he did. He'd like to do a speech again. I do think the NSG folks are probably going to do a little speech here as well.
But camera coming back down. We've lost our presence there.
All right, so we're hearing a lot of chatter in the other room again. We're not exactly sure. We're going to be here till as late as we can. We might get an interview from Will himself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we might have to see that a bit later on again. Sokka has been doing a great job. He had a video up against Last Worlds talking about his matchups, his deck, so you can be tuned into that for sure on his side of things. But we're just going to hold the fort here for a while.
Indeed.
Oh, it was an NGO front. We're getting confirmation in the chat. Okay.
It was the NGO front.
Rest comfortably.
That's good. I can sleep at night.
It would have stuck. He could have done it. It would have stuck.
Okay, so I think we're getting the notice.
Oh, we're getting the call down.
Up.
Okay,
exactly.
So real quickly, we need to tear down here. There's so many thank yous that we have to put out, and we might not even have the time before this building closes to get a thank out. On this side here, we're seeing actually, can we do it?
Okay.
Can we do it?
Well.
Okay, we'll get this in before if we can. So firstly, just on our side here, the streaming team, the commentary team, there's so much work happening behind the scene. Not Yeti, mind you. Locke's doing literally holding the world over his shoulders to make sure that this can get out there. So huge thank you to that, to Josh, to Guy, we're joined by Captain Nice doing commentary. Just absolutely fantastic work from everyone.
Aksu on Friday with the team, team tournament as well. Josh as well. We had a lot of people. We had a lot of voices. Yeah, exactly.
And of course, we won't have the time again to shout out all the NSG folks. Exactly. That's the World Champions Trophy. I'm not sure if our image went down. Let us know if we did. Things have changed on our end. The computers are going to sleep. But huge shout out to all the NSG team. It takes an absolute village to make something like this happen. To Mar and to Ed,
you know,
I think we lost signal. It's the cameras going down.
Yeah, the lights are going out all across Netrunner. And Sokka weeps, for there are no worlds left to conquer. But he might do an interview. I'm still not sure on that.
I think we might.
Yeah. So I'm still not clear on that. So we are.
We're going to camera.
We are potentially going to camera here. So. We'll be able to see. And so I'm going to duck out here because there's room for 2. And
Sokka, have a seat.
Is there room? Is there room for Kleenex?
No, I don't have any. Does someone have Kleenex?
Wipe all the tears off my face.
Best I have is paper.
There are no worlds left.
There's people who can hear me say this, right?
Yes. The mic is on.
As I ask for Kleenex.
Yeah.
Are we? There's their video too.
Yeah, that's you.
That's crazy. That is me.
I feel like we get to do this once a year. Cheers, man. What a wild final. Things were looking really bad for a while. We saw your hand.
So bad.
It was bad.
I was sure that we were going to a second game when he ripped the first send a message and then the second send a message.
Yeah.
Or the above the law. When he ripped the above the law off the top, I was starting to think about how to beat NEH. That's what was going through my head.
Yeah, we saw the setup. We thought the match of SDS drone deployment, being able to trash those one-of breakers, it seemed so good. Cable clearly played that fantastically. Yeah. Keeping the breakers down, keeping the economy up. Were you holding a Trojan horse for the whole game?
Yes. Yeah, it was like in my.
Because the clean house wasn't trash. Those Trojan horse respect.
Yes. I think they knew that. I played against Ranji Doge earlier twice. Yeah. And Ranji Doge is playing 419, and I Trojan Horse his Kurapira in the first game
Yeah.
when we were in Swiss, and he didn't know that that was coming. So I locked him out. And I think you saw a lockout on stream.
We
as
saw,
well
yeah,
earlier.
we saw the concede 2 cleavers gone.
Yeah, and so in the cut off camera against Ranji, we played the same matchup, and I had the Trojan Horse again, and his game plan was just to stay above money,
Yeah.
and not get Trojan Horsed. And I think he told Cable, like, I think you probably saw it on camera, like they were talking right before the game,
Okay.
and he was like, "Watch out for that Trojan Horse." I guarantee that's what he said, because it's bad, right? Like
It's a problem.
you got one of each breaker in Crim.
Yeah.
So yeah, he played super safe, got a bunch of money, but like if I find my bio vaults and I run you through the ice, you can't keep the money up.
No.
Yeah.
We saw that. The HQ run, there's no way to make
But
that reasonable.
there was so many things that went wrong that game. Like I couldn't find ice for archives, so we put a Rhyme there.
Rhyme, yeah.
To bluff.
Why is Rhyme in the deck?
Rhyme is in the deck for Bankar, so for the Hashiko matchup.
Right.
So you put a Pharos. Like Hashiko cannot break a triple advanced Pharos with a Rhyme on top of it.
What does Rhyme do? Does it increase the strength?
It increases the strength of Pharos, but
Yeah.
it's also a piece of ice that just has one throwaway sub, so
Okay.
Bankar can't.
Just sacrificial.
Does nothing. Exactly.
Nice.
And I found I would put Hordoms or I'd put a Kets in front just to sacrifice for Bankar, and Rhyme was a perfect dice for that. One funny application of Rhyme is against Essa.
We heard this and sorry, go ahead.
So Essa can install Begamot,
Yeah.
right? And Essa can install Marrow. Marrow gives you +3 hand size. So you effectively have 8 hand size with Marrow, which means you can take 8 core damage. And 8 plus the 2 base strength of Begamot is 10, which breaks Pharos, but not if there's a Rhyme in front of it.
Did you see that happen?
Yes, I did that. I
Whoa.
did that in a game in Swiss, where I put a Rhyme in front of a Pharos, and they couldn't break the Pharos because it was 11 strength.
You played this deck at COS. Did you
I
know
did.
that you were going into this event playing this deck? Did it perform above expectations on Friday? Well, because clearly, to all the folks watching, you have to explain what the heck is this deck?
So I can't start answering this question without giving a huge shout out to Peter H. So Peter H, is an amazing guy from Texas, tests with my group. He does a lot of testing, like NSG testing, set testing.
Cool.
So people probably know him mostly from that. You don't see him playing online too much. But he has played a lot of Wayland Glacier. He always tries to make it work. Last year, I think I said on stream that I almost brought Grinder, Builder of Nations.
Yeah.
And that was Peter's deck. So unfortunately, Peter's wasn't able to make it to Worlds. He was supposed to come. Unfortunately, wasn't able to make it. But he and I worked on that deck. Basically, I was like, I don't like these corp decks that we all know about.
Sure.
Ob has weaknesses against Essa, against Crim. HBs have weaknesses against people who you can tech against it with Bankar, with Crim. So all the decks were kind of known. I wanted something that was unknown. I tested a lot of PE.
Oh,
and-
really?
Yeah, I tested a lot of PE. I think if there's a good PE deck out there, then it could be really, really good. But unfortunately, Fuji's just not Oboe. So if you don't play Fuji, you have too many agendas. If you play Fuji, it's just not good. Sometimes you lose it. Yeah. So then I was like, hey Peter, I need a Wayland Glacier. And then we worked on this. It started at 59 cards, went down to 44.
You're on 49.
I'm on 49.
Yeah.
So it went down to 40. It's basically the idea is we're gonna build this Glacier deck and ice up all the centrals. So the Essas and the criminals who are all trying to diversion and do all these run events, run centrals thing, don't get their value.
Yeah.
And they often clog up in hand. So then once we have all that set up, nobody can break Pharos.
Nobody can.
Nobody can break Pharos. And we kind of took advantage of the fact that Botulus is out of the meta. Botulus is out of meta. Botulus kills this deck.
Right.
Botulus kills this deck. There's no answer to Botulus here.
Yeah.
If you Botulus my Pharos, I just have to override it. So we just have this. The idea was just build this Glacier deck. We're gonna score with Bio Vaults. So I ended up we started with Clearinghouse, cut the Clearinghouse, and then I went back to one Clearinghouse, and we went to 49 because I wanted to play the Above the Law, just to trash some twinnings.
Sure. There's a huge threat on the table. Whenever we saw an unadvanced card, it's that has a huge impact potentially.
Yeah. So I liked that, and then at COS, 3 out of my 4 wins were Clearinghouse wins, and I was playing one Clearinghouse. So then Friday night, I put in a second one.
So that was the testing that came out.
Yeah. So Friday night I put in a second one, and it worked out.
What happened at COS if the deck didn't perform? Did you have a backup idea?
So I went into COS thinking, I came to Barcelona thinking I was going to play Built to Last.
Cool.
But then the day before, my team was testing a lot of fast events Rush Ob, and I was like, this deck is really good. You guys are actually going to make me switch to this deck. like, dang it, like, I don't want to switch to this deck, right? So I was doubting my build to last, and I was going to switch to Ob, which is why I played it in COS. I played the BTL. Because, like, I think if I'm locked in on a certain deck, then I'm not going to play it at BTL. Or I'm not going to play it at COS.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so, like, because I wasn't totally locked in, I was having doubts, I decided to play the BTL.
Cool.
It did well, so I stuck with it.
Can you tell us a bit really quickly about the runner deck? I'm not sure if we saw it. We can. Excuse me.
Okay.
We'll hear about that. Actually, plug your channel really quick. I reckon you talk about your stuff.
I will definitely post a recap video. I will definitely do some streams when I'm home. Check out my channel. It's on Twitch and YouTube at Sokka234. Yeah, I've been posting shorts every single round. After every single round this tournament, I've been posting shorts on YouTube.
Sick.
Just talking about the round, talking about how things are going. So go check that out.
Sokka, we have to kill again. They're turning the lights off, but congrats once again.
Thank you so much. It means a lot.
Hey, cheers. That'll be it again. This is Barcelona Worlds 2023. We're shutting it down. Thanks so much for joining us on this adventure. 257 players. We're down to 1, but thanks again. Always be running.
Thanks, everyone.